You're listening to Theater and College Hoops. I'm Subi. Alongside me is Taylor Damel and the Shark. We're brought to you by Dash Radio and the Barn Burner Podcast Network. Go subscribe on whichever device you use. I actually heard Terrell Stoglin, former Tucson local Maryland basketball player, subscribe, so you should as well. Check out the website at thebarnburner.com. That's the-barnburner.com. And make sure to follow us on Twitter at CBB Theater. You should also follow me at Subi232 to find out where the Theat is, and make sure to follow Taylor at Taylor Damel and the Shark at _Shark_BB. I suppose we got to open the curtains. To quote Ed Reed, I'm hurt, dog. Don't ask me if I'm all right. Hell no. I'm putting my heart into this shit, dog. I'm hurt. Long story short, the NCAA has said that there will be no fans allowed in stadiums during NCAA tournament games. Fellas, I am downtrodden. I'm dumbfounded. Crowds are essential to the game, but they're also essential to the namesake of this program, and that's theater. If theater was a pool, the crowd would be chlorine. If theater was a table, the crowd would be the legs. If theater was Nicki Minaj, the crowd would be the caboose. Longtime listener and friend of the program, Brendan O'Rourke, asked, is there even theater without the crowd? And to that, I say no. But I'll open it up to you guys first. Is there theater sans crowd?
Is this if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it even make a sound type of question? I don't know. I'm just goes without saying, extremely disappointed. This is very sad. And like the CBI has been canceled now too. Not that we care or give a shit about that. I don't even, is the CBI even on TV? I don't know. But I think it's quite the decision here over what I think is, I don't want to say nothing, but like right now as this show is going on, 1,200 total people in the country have been infected with the coronavirus. That's like not even the amount of media that goes into like one arena during this. I don't know, what is theater without the crowd? I guess it's just like, is the tournament just like a high school play now, essentially? Is that what the...
But see, that is still theater. I don't even know what to describe this. Shark, can you help us out?
It's not theater. It sucks. I can't even put together words related to this right now. I don't want to comment on whether it was the right decision or not, because the whole idea is, they're trying to protect people. So sometimes you got to make the hard decision for other individuals, which I understand. You don't want old people in arenas where you may not know that you have the virus, or you're passing it to this guy who can handle the virus, but that guy ends up passing it to some guy that can't handle the virus, and next thing you know, people are dying. I get it. You got to make a tough decision once in a while. But from our perspective, it sucks. I can't even imagine what it's going to look like on TV, where I can hear Bruce Pearl screaming pretty clearly, and I can hear so many different basketball shoes squeaking. It's going to remove all of the theater from everything, which removes the whole point of this podcast. I don't even want to do this podcast.
That's true. I had to
sucks.
Rip you by the collar to get in this video chat.
Yeah, it blows, man. I think back to, I don't know if you guys, whenever you, Sub, I know you don't play video games, but playing video games growing up, I would dive into like a Madden season and just live in this world where I'm in charge of the team and build them up and learn who the third string outside linebacker is, and hopefully give them an opportunity 2 years into it. Go like 10 years deep, whether it's NCAA football, college basketball, all those games. Get so involved. And then at some point, like the actual football season ends, or the actual college NBA season ends, or whatever it is. And then you look at your game and you're like, I don't really want to play anymore. So who cares about all this time I invested and all this effort I cared about, Jared Davis, who I drafted in the 6th round out of Western Kentucky a long time ago for the Washington Redskins that led me to 2 Super Bowls. It doesn't matter. All right. Because that happened 10 years ago and it wasn't real. So I'm sitting here at this point right now where all these shows that we've done, all the shits I've given about, Oregon or Seton Hall or whether or not freaking Tennessee is going to get into the tournament. It's all leading to just me watching some shitty game at 4:00 on Thursday where there's 6 people in there. And again, I don't blame people for having that decision. It is what it is. Sometimes we got to live. And these are definitely first world problems. All right. We're all going to be okay. Everybody's happy. We live in a great country. It's all great, but it can still suck at the same time. That's how I feel.
I think that's very well put. And there's no sound better than under 2 minutes in March in a random arena in like Des Moines, Iowa, when a 15 or a 14 seed point guard, white guy hits a 3 and the net ripples. And then you get like a Raftery or a Nance call. And then the crowd just crescendos and it's at its apex scream. Like, we all love those YouTube videos or those live videos that come out. Like, we'll watch the games on TV, but then 2 minutes, 3 minutes afterwards, we get those court reactions, or we get like on court level type of videos, and the crowd just goes insane. I mean, what are we going to get now?
So I used to think that the crowd in the tournament wasn't that, like, I used to have no desire to go to games. I used to be like, all right, I'll just watch it on my couch. I'm good. Now it's nice to see when you can kind of catch it in the bottom left of your screen or the bottom of your screen or the top of the screen, when you can see the section stand up for a big defensive stop, or there's a run going and you can see a section rise. Like, that's cool to see on TV. I used to not care so much about the actual environment until I went to one. And I talked about this on the show before. When I went to Louisville last year for Tennessee and Purdue, it was one of the coolest sporting events I've ever been to. And I said, anytime my team is playing in, a second round, I'm going to go to that game, come hell or high water, because that experience was awesome. You have completely split arenas filled to the brim, the Yum Center in Louisville. Incredible game, and just the back and forth, not knowing who is completely taking over the space, and kind of competing for who has more fans there. It's great, and you have a city divided. It's an incredible experience, and I get how we can't have that right now.
So I'm kind of looking at this, and Taylor, you can keep me honest here. I'm looking at this almost like the adjustments and the tweaks that the NBA and Adam Silver did to the All-Star game. Because this past All-Star game was a new format, and it was amazing. The fourth quarter was fantastic, and it absolutely exceeded our expectations. Now, the All-Star game in previous years, in some people's eyes, was already bad, so they made it better. The NCAA tournament, we can all agree, is a flawless product. We know that this is going to be a worse viewing experience than what we've experienced every single year prior to this. But Taylor, is there any chance that maybe watching the game, our expectations are so incredibly low that it's not going to be that terrible of a viewing experience? Is there any chance?
Well, I think the only solace that we have is, it's not up to us, but hopefully what we'll be able to hear as big time or diehard college basketball fans is a lot of the coaching, a lot of the players talking to each other, more like in-depth stuff, a lot like we talked about on that. What was that? Who played a couple weeks ago when they showed like the in the locker room stuff and on the on the
Penn
court.
State, Illinois.
Right, and we talked about how cool that was, and we made a vehement point about how we wouldn't want it in a like tournament atmosphere or a game on the line. We wanted it just for like a one-off during the year. Well, we may have jinxed ourselves that, because we're going to essentially get that every single game. Someone, not myself, but someone on Twitter brought up a good point that there's actually probably going to be a lot of issues with the broadcast, because there's going to be no like establishing shots or anything like that throughout the entire broadcast. There's going to be nothing to look at. B, there's going to be a lot of audio that the players say. A lot of audio that the players are going to say that's going to need to be edited out of the broadcast on local TV. There's going to be a lot of fucks yelled out there that you normally can't hear during a normal broadcast, because the crowd is too loud, especially if there's nothing else going on in the arena. So that'll be interesting.
What about play calls too? You gotta
Well, yeah,
think about
no,
that. Like, we're
coaching,
gonna
all of it.
easily
Yeah, right.
be able to hear play calls in crucial
Right.
crunch time minutes.
Well, one thing I instantly thought of, and this isn't necessarily what everyone thinks of, but a lot of people do, is how does it affect like the betting? So you can always tell when like you're saying, an upset team or an upset-minded team is going on a run, and the crowd gets behind them. You say, okay, yeah, I can bet this from here. In a lot of live betting scenarios, which has become extremely popular now, if the game is delayed by literally like 10, 20 seconds rather than the normal like 3 to 5, that's not going to be applicable anymore. I mean, we could probably go through a thousand issues as to what this is going to cause, but I think that the positives we'll have is we might get a good insight into how the game actually works. Each and every play, each and every switch. The problem is I just don't want that right now. I want that in November. I just don't want it right now. So I guess you just all about your perspective of, okay, we're gonna find it interesting in a different way, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, and I can't wait for some college basketball hardo or just any basketball hardo on Twitter to try and say that, oh, if you don't like competitive basketball, it shouldn't matter who's in the arena and who's not. You know that's going to come on Twitter, some purist going with that angle. But I will say, you bring up a good point. This very well may impact, and this is going to be selfish. No one really gives a shit, but this is going to impact bracket picking, in my opinion. Right, Shark? Does this, for me at least, I think I might lean more towards chalk because those underdogs aren't going to have the backing of the crowd, which provides them a little bit more juice. Shark, do you think this is going to impact your bracket picking at all?
Yeah, it will, because underdogs often they feed off of the momentum aspect of it. I appreciate Taylor trying to find the silver lining of something here, like kind of boiling it down to the purity of the game, but I mean, I can't even find any sort of positive light out of this thing right here. I think it's just going to suck, really. If you were asking me if I was in charge of the NCAA, I'd say, all right, let's just close up shop for about 3 weeks and let's do this tournament in 3 weeks. Why not? Why not that? We got nothing else going on in May. Maybe we can get some containment on this thing like the other countries have, and we could just do it then. I don't see an issue with that. I can wait 3 weeks. The part of what's great about the tournament is the hope, just like looking forward to something. Nothing better than looking forward to something, slugging the hours wherever you work, chopping wood, doing what you have to do, but having something at the end of that tunnel that you're aspiring to. Could be, yeah.
It's interesting because we're actually going to get a dry run, so to speak, tonight when this podcast airs. The Warriors are playing the Nets, I believe, on TNT. In an empty arena. So we're going to get a kind of a dry run on how this is going to work. Now, that might be, if I'm going to try and find the silver lining, the TNT is who has the rights to the broadcast for the NCAA tournament, along with CBS and Turner Broadcasting as a whole. The fact that they get to shoot an NBA game in the same atmosphere is maybe a way to figure out how they might work some other shit in there. I don't know, but I mean, I guess they might have a dry run at figuring out how it's going to work.
Bless your heart, Taylor. This plays so well into your persona, especially as it pertains to fandom. You're the eternal optimist. I got to side with Shark, though. I think this is
Oh, yeah. I agree. I think you asked me to find the silver lining. Okay.
That. No, I appreciate that. But
Sub, let me answer your original question, because I went off on a tangent there related to how this affects brackets and who you're going to pick and all that crap. Yes, generally, like when you remove all the bullshit, you just go on a court, you'd expect the team with the better players to win without the pressure of having a crowd or getting behind and having the neutral fans turn against you. The one caveat to that would be what a lot of times, a lot of these guys that are higher seeds, they get the benefit of playing closer to where they're from. So they're going to miss out on whatever. I know it's not even a home court advantage, but less travel to the place. So if I'm looking for anything right there, but generally I'm going to expect the better teams to perform better. And be more chalky out there.
Yeah. I mean, Duke typically always plays in their backyard first couple rounds. You look at some other teams, even SDSU, right? They are very well lined up to be the number 2 seed in the West. And I think the Sweet 16 Elite 8 games are going to be played in Staples Center. That's only an hour and a half away from campus. So they're going to,
but traditionally that matters
well.
traditionally that matters because you have your home base is already.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah. But it could be somewhat slight of an advantage of, you know what? I'm at school right now. I don't have to get on a plane to travel to this freaking game. I can get on a bus and just drive over there. And, my apartment's not too far from here.
So let me go the opposite direction here. This is still kind of being optimistic, but let me just throw another angle out at you. Okay, so we keep thinking about how the small schools are the one that needs the crowds to be with them. What if you took the angle of saying that the big schools aren't going to get amped up for these games at all either, and that might be the way that a small school picks off a big school like that because there's no excitement of the crowd. Because, like you said, a Duke game, a North Carolina game, or, well, not North Carolina this year, but those, when they play in the Greensboro Coliseum every goddamn year, for some reason, there's 14,000 Duke fans there. Same with, like, in Arizona. You go to Staples Center, there's 12,000 Arizona fans there and 6,000 of the other fans sprinkled in. So maybe the big schools who are always have that crowd behind them, whereas like the Hofstras of the world who never have anybody in their crowd anyway, maybe this is making them feel more at home. Maybe this is an advantage to them.
Yeah, I mean, at least for one tournament, we're not going to be able to hear about how well Big Blue Nation travels. I mean, maybe we'll still have to endure that, but I mean, I see what you're saying. But even those 1-16 matchups, 2 15s at like 1, 2, 3 p.m., those are kind of sparse crowds anyway in the first round of 32. And then once you get to the second weekend, it's going to be on and popping pretty much, right? You should be able, you're pretty much saying to yourself, all right, now I'm 2 wins away from a Final Four. So I see what you're saying to an extent, but I already think that the first round and the round of 32 are kind of sparse crowds as it is, and are, I don't know, they're easier crowds to play in front of, let's say for a Louisville, as opposed to going to Cameron or as opposed to going to UVA or something like that, right?
So here's a question for you guys then. Now this becomes personal preference, all right? You have your tickets booked. Your hotel is booked. You may or may not be able to get out of it. Do you still go to the town and go to a bar in that town to watch the game?
Yeah, why not?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, assuming it's not refundable, I mean, you might as well go and say it so you can tell the story some 20 years later. You know, I went out there anyways on the Corona tournament, and I watched it at some jerk off's bar, and my team lost, and I went home, and it was the worst trip I ever had. That's a story. I'd roll with that story, but if you're already booked, you might as well embrace it.
Yeah, go sample the local fare. Why not?
So, what's the over/under on number of Corona commercials we're going to see during the tournament? Do you think they just jam it down our throats, the Corona does, or do you think that they try and stay away?
I think they're going to stay away. You know who's going to emerge as a big player in the commercial market is Modelo. Have we launched an investigation into the competitors of Corona like Modelo? I mean, if you're not waging biological warfare on your competitor, are you really even competing? So honestly, hat tip to Modelo if they're the brains behind this whole operation.
How about Purell or Lysol? I think this whole thing's perpetuated by big antiseptic. Or I guess
before the show, we did talk about how people are going to exploit this for financial gain, and in 10 years, there's going to be a Big Short-esque movie about this. I can almost guarantee that. You know how the cliche thing nowadays is, oh, that 30 for 30 is going to be sick? Promise you, there's going to be a Big Short type movie in 10 years about the coronavirus.
It's like Coney 2012, pretty much, is how I feel about it.
Corona 2012. Mix those two together.
Wow. Yeah, just rolled into a decade of bullshit. So what a year or 12 months for the NCAA, by the way. Just FBI bullshit all over the place. Now we're not even having an NCAA tournament. Mark Emmert really having a hell of a year. Some of it his fault, some of it not, obviously. But boy, from an outside perspective, if you were a casual fan who thought like, the players need to be paid, all that type of stuff. You got to be thinking like, are we going to go make these players travel across the country too in front of no fans? I don't know. It's not a good look. Is no doubt whether it's their fault or not.
Well, I would even take it a step further. The American basketball versus China has had its relationship strained. If you go all the way back to LeBron James, Daryl Morey. Yeah. Oh, there you go. If you go back to LeBron James, Daryl Morey, that whole thing with China, and then now the coronavirus essentially not allowing fans to come into the stadiums. I mean, that's a budding rivalry if you think about it. So, I mean, and here's the other thing, Shark, you laughed and you were disgusted, quite honestly, with my comparison about 40 days and 40 nights last episode. Tell me this isn't exactly that. We're going to get the tournament, knock on wood. We're going to get this tournament, but with no fans. So we're going to get that nut. It might be the worst March nut of your entire life, though.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm still down in the dumps. I don't even want to. I told you last episode I don't want to go back to that metaphor, and I certainly don't want to go back to it right now. All I can really just say is whatever.
So
I'd like to say I've known the Shark now for about 17 years, would you say? 17 years or so. And this is one of the most upbeat, chipper, positive people, deluded people as well. But that is what he's been beaten down by his professional teams, by his college teams. A lot of turmoil in sports for the Shark. I've never seen him this downtrodden and defeated. And I don't blame him. I don't blame you.
No, man. This is the event for me each year. I care deeply about it. We were going to go into our bracket etiquette next week and talk about how much prep we put into it and our routines and all that. I got a hell of a routine that goes into how serious I take this. So it's going to suck now because I know it's not going to get to the same level that it's been. But this is, you want me to take one positive as I kind of pick myself up off the ground here. If I'm taking one positive out of this thing, I'm telling you right now, as we record this show, what do we got? March 11th here, 2021 tournament. I'm going nuts. I'm appreciating everything. I'm recording every single game. I don't care if it's 16 seed Hampton versus 1 seed Boston College. I'm recording that whole thing, and I'm watching the 37-point blowout. I'm watching every single game. I'm going to my team's games, no matter where they are. They can be in frickin' Bismarck, South Dakota. I'll go there. All right. I'm traveling.
North Dakota.
Helena, Montana. I'll go to a Dakota. I will go to a Dakota, and I will go where it takes for me to appreciate the most pure sporting event that we have in this country.
This seems like it could be the start of like a boys trip, a yearly annual boys trip to one NCAA tournament game, because it all stemmed from that 1 year where it got taken away from us. Have we been taking this for granted? Because Taylor, you and I have never been to an NCAA tournament game. Shark, you did last year.
Wait, what?
You were at an NCAA tournament game?
I've been to like 5.
The Final Four, actually.
I've been to Final Four. I've been to multiple Elite Eights. I've been to regional sites. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, then maybe I've just been taking it for granted.
Find some positivity out of this. Realize how much it means to you. And what's the Happy Gilmore when he's taking Billy Madison when he takes the fat kid and he's shaking his cheeks and he says, cherish it. Do that to the tournament. All right. Soup, tweet that out with your gift. Get that fat chick, hug the cheeks. That's what we have to do to this tournament.
They this definitely they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. You don't know what you got till it's gone. Situation here.
I just buried that with a Billy Madison fat kid cheeks thing, and then you got to go quote that song right there afterwards. Come on, Taylor.
It's applicable. Come on, man.
Don't let this divide the group.
So can I let Shark, just because he's the most downtrodden of us three, I think, can I let him talk about Miles Powell winning Big East Player of the Year?
I don't care.
Come on.
It doesn't matter. What sucks is guys like Miles Powell now, right? This guy's busting his ass all year. He's having a historic season. It's the best season in Seton Hall in their last 30 years. And now his reward is I'm going to play in a Big East tournament with nobody in Madison Square Garden. And then I'm going to go play in a tournament when there's going to be nobody. I'm going to be playing in some high school gym outside of Atlanta in the Final Four. Like, that sucks. He grew up watching great players like Kemba and Shabazz and, throw in another one that played the same position as him around the same time that he would have been a kid watching the games. And it really is unfortunate. Well, I'm trying to think of a good guard that would have done it, like Edgar Sosa, maybe would have been in that realm. What other guards took over in that? Jalen Brunson, maybe. But
Brunson was like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but Powell would have been in high school.
Regardless, I feel you're hurt, Father. I do.
So let me interject with me. I thought I meant to bring up here earlier. What about free throws here in the tournament? No distractions now. This is straight up.
That's even worse.
Yeah, that's way worse.
You think it's going to be worse? Okay.
A stone cold. That's like they've never practiced that. They've never practiced that. Not even at practice. Like in the gym, you got voices and stuff going on.
No, it definitely sucked. I was a pretty knockdown free throw shooter in high school when there's like not a lot of people shooting. But now when I play in Equinox and there's nobody there, I suck at free throws.
So
it's a deafening silence.
Yeah.
So why I bring this up is there's a team that just qualified for the tournament last night in North Dakota State University. Speaking of the Dakotas, who's the leading free throw shooting team in the country at 80%, would be a good pick if you didn't think that a no one in the crowd would be effective or affecting their free throw shooting. That's more of like the next week bracket. How do you pick your team situation, but might be applicable to our discussion here now.
Is the band allowed to come? The reason I ask that is because you know how there's always that one shriek in the crowd, a fan too close to the microphone. Like, can we get a trumpet player playing like one really quick note when the guy's about to shoot a free throw? These are all variables that are in play.
I'm searching Twitter right now to see if bands are coming or not.
Definitely a good question. And Taylor, as you were talking about that, I started thinking teams I might want to fade are the ones that are good because of like players that just go on absolute heat checks, that feed off of crowd energy or crowd hatred. And like, I honestly think Miles Powell is one of those guys that he's a very streaky player that feeds off of the energy in the gym. I don't know how up he can get himself. I'll have to watch the Big East this weekend to do some. It's like I'm scouting in a whole new world out here right now.
It is. Which team and which player, just off the top of my mind, it came to me, which team and which player I would, like if it was normal, I would have taken them to like the Elite Eight or Sweet 16. But under these circumstances, I'd have them losing in the first round because of this one player. It's Marshall Henderson and Ole Miss. I'm trying to picture Marshall Henderson in this type of environment, and I'm picturing him going 1 of 8 with like 4 points, or 2 points and then 2 free throws. You
know who I think is going to thrive in this environment, and they've kind of been struggling down the stretch here, but this might be perfect for them. Nice quiet gym, a unassuming great player is Iowa. Luka Garza will probably be just pound the shit out of people down low, and then they have a bunch of knockdown shooters on the outside. So I am rewiring my mind right now to look for teams and offenses like that, but I'm automatically thinking Iowa might have a better chance where they're not going to shit themselves playing against a team that's bringing heat.
Quite literally the epitome of back to the drawing board.
Yeah. So I'm finding here that the Big 12 is not going to have anybody for their tournament. But bands are
all the conference. Yeah, they're all doing it right now.
Well, but bands are not included in the Big 12 is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
So the other thing too is that they are finding a place to play, and this may have gone without saying, or Subi, you may have led with this somewhere, and I may have missed it, but they're trying to find an alternative stadium other than Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta to play the Final Four.
But it's still going to be in Atlanta?
Where the players play, yes. They are not going to play it in a football stadium, which makes complete sense because why would you do a whole stadium for no reason? So they're looking at the Highlight Factory where the Hawks play there, as well as Georgia Tech's arena. What a weird highlight this is going to be in when you look back at this at ESPN Classic, the 2020 Final Four played at Georgia Tech or wherever they decide to play it.
Dude, it's just going to go back to the old days, right? Like all of those tournaments in the 80s and the 90s that were played in these small ass gyms in these local college gyms. So
go further back than that. I know we'll get to our This Week in Theater, where we have an extremely exciting moment to go over. But today, or as we're recording this, March 11th is the anniversary of the first publicly played basketball game ever in 1892. So it's kind of bittersweet that today is also the announcement that the tournament will be played in front of less fans than the actual first public basketball game played in Springfield, Massachusetts.
A dark day here for Titch. Hopefully this upcoming interview here with JD can actually cheer us up, bring our spirits in. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring in JD Wise. All right, we want to thank JD again for hopping on the program and sharing some of his memories at Wisconsin and giving some of his predictions as well. Without any further ado, though, let's go ahead and get into segments. Before we do that, a quick message from Zach at the Barnburner Podcast Network. All right, it is twit time and hug time. We haven't done This Week in Theat in quite some time, actually. So it's March. It's not like we're scraping for any theater in the past. So twit, UConn had Kemba Walker and also Jalen Adams hit two incredible conference tournament shots. So we'll start with the Kemba shot. I think that's ingrained in everyone's memory. The Kemba shot over Gary McGee. You know what the craziest thing is to me about that? And I think I learned this, or maybe was reminded of this past year, is that the shot was in the quarterfinals. I thought for the longest time, I thought that shot was to win the Big East tournament. I thought it might have been a semifinal to send them to the Big East final. That was in the quarterfinals, and then they ripped off 8 straight to go and win the national title. And then, of course, Jalen Adams, after their move to the American Athletic Conference, Jalen Adams hits a 3/4 or quarter-length shot to tie Cincinnati and force a 4th overtime. UConn just fucking loves playing these million overtime games. If you remember, they had a 7 overtime game against Syracuse. They go to 4 overtimes, and they win both of these games, by the way. Kemba defeats Pittsburgh. Cincy loses to UConn and Jalen Adams. And actually, another little nugget, I was watching Stuff today with John Rothstein. He had Steve Peichel on. Can you believe Steve Peichel is actually a recruit of Jim Calhoun's? He's one of Calhoun's very first recruits. How fucking old is Calhoun? I had no idea.
Oh, he's like, what school is he at now? Like St. Thomas or something? Just coaching random basketball, D3 basketball.
St. Joe's D3. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah,
so that Kemba run is kind of like I don't know, like the Christian Laettner shot in a way where it's like that only happened in the Elite Eight or the Sweet 16 or whatever, the Christian Laettner one. That shot by Kemba only really started their run. I only think it was the 3rd win of the 11 they rolled off in a row to win the national title that year, because they played in pretty much the games that would be going on right now on a Wednesday afternoon in the Big East tournament. They played DePaul in the first round, and then they played Georgetown in the second round, which are on like nondescript days. Both games were at like noon during the middle of the day. So it's definitely remembered for being something you would think was on like prime time on a Saturday night. Like, no, it was on like a Wednesday. Well, a Thursday, I guess, the quarterfinal game. Thursday afternoon, essentially.
A lot of interesting nuggets from that shot. Shark, what are your thoughts on the Kemba shot?
I'm wondering why Brad Wanamaker wasn't matched up with Kemba on that. And you got the mismatch with Gary McGee. And obviously Wanamaker and Kemba are teammates now, but Wanamaker's a good on-the-ball defender. I mean, what the hell, man? Last shot of the game. Slap the floor. Let's go, Wanamaker.
Did they get a switch or something on a pick and roll?
They must have. But that video is so hilarious how he breaks his ankles right there. Just beautiful.
Well, the crazy part, too, is if you look at their next 2 games in the Big East tournament, they went to overtime with Syracuse, and then they only beat Louisville by 3. So, I mean, they could have obviously, they went on and they beat Arizona in the Elite Eight by 2, and they beat Kentucky in the Final Four by 1. So it comes down to pretty much just having a guard that could make one extra bucket more than everybody else, because their run could have ended like 6 times across the 11-game streak that they had.
Yeah, but
but it didn't. Yeah, right.
Pretty terrible tournament that year too.
Do you remember the final?
Yeah, Butler, UConn.
That was one of the worst shooting performances I've seen from any title game.
Should have coronaed that tournament right there.
Yeah. Butler scored 41 points in the final. Actually, it was just on like ESPN Classic or something the other day. Just watch this. Just a horrific game.
That's an awful. Yeah, it was one of those deals where it wasn't a blowout, but it also wasn't close, and it was just an ugly game. There wasn't any thrilling moments during that game.
Matt Howard on Butler, right? We got to where am I, Matt Howard? Remember him?
Yeah, I actually tried where am I Matt Howard. He's active on Twitter.
Oh, good.
I think he's still. I think I looked into that too. Isn't he still playing somewhere?
He might be.
I think he is. I think that's why I didn't choose him one time.
Logue played on the same, I think, either AAU team or middle school team as Matt Howard.
Wow, there you go.
Matt Howard can carve out a career, man. He's the quintessential guy that is sticking around. You're like, how's he here? Locker room guy.
So slow.
One more note about UConn's run that year is the highest seed they played in the tournament was San Diego State.
Oh, was that the Quad team?
Sweet 16. I believe so. But they played 2 seed San Diego State, and that was the highest. They played 5, a 14, a 6, a 5, a 4, and an 8, other than number 2 San Diego State to get to the final.
Well, it's
wild.
Yeah, it's no secret that UConn has had some happy times here in March. So that's your This Week in Theat. Jalen Adams with a quarter-length shot, and then, of course, the Kemba shot. Shark, I'm going to pass it to you for hugs. You feeling generous at all tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to just go to the hug that I initially had planned, and it's going to be for Marcus Zegarowski. I've been tweeting about it a little bit. The fact that he got injured, he's getting knee surgery done for a meniscus. They're not saying whether it's torn or not, but like, come on, meniscus in your right knee. You're going to be playing in a tournament without any fans there. You can play at the next level. You're one of the most efficient guards in the country. Don't play Zegarowski. Meniscuses are, it's easy to say, oh, it's not torn or whatever, but like, Darius Geis was out for 6 weeks with a meniscus this year. It happens with players all the time at the NFL. It's not worth risking your career over, especially when you got a future. He's missing the Big East tournament. I expect Creighton to not play well without him because he is their end, and it always is unfortunate to see that happen. Shades of the knee injury back in 2014 sucks.
You want to wax poetic? Any time spent on the Providence Hyenas coming after you, or just save it for a different day based on this?
Yeah, because the accusation is, we're intentionally poking them with a stick so that we can get people to talk about us, and it's preposterous. The tweet I sent out was about George Niang and Marcus Zegarowski. One of those hyenas comes into the mentions and says, but what about Providence? And I responded saying Ed Cooley's 1-5 in the NCAA tournament. And then another hyena comes in and says, oh my God, you're just trying to intentionally get us going. And it makes no sense. You're an idiot. All right. Like that whole fan base, like, someone else give a hug. I don't want to talk.
All right. Well, so I'll hop in here. So I'm going to try and be positive here some more. And we're going to shout out, since this is a Dayton podcast, I'm going to shout out that Dayton is already rioting in the streets. Police had to respond last night to the same area that our boy Logan Norse used to party in. They're on Lowe Street in Dayton, to an over 1,000 person riot that was happening after Dayton canceled classes for the rest of the week, or for the foreseeable future. So I can only imagine what that area is going to be like as the tournament goes through here. But hug for Dayton University, already starting off March Madness before the tournament has even begun. Or University of Dayton, excuse me, not Dayton University. I apologize.
My hug is actually going to tie back to one quick thing that you had mentioned earlier in the show, Taylor. You had mentioned the CBI. My hug is for the seniors on those shitty teams because the CBI is canceled. That sucks. No note on the NIT just yet. Obviously, we've spent the entire first half of the program talking about the NCAA, but the CBI canceled. So guys like Hanif Cheatham, who's been around the block, I don't even know if Nebraska was going to get a CBI invite. I think they have like 8 wins on the season. I don't know what the qualifications are, but you think of guys like that who you've been hearing about for the past 5 years, they want to cap off their career with any sort of postseason play, any sort of extension of their collegiate career. That's no more. So hug for seniors on shitty teams. And you know what? I'm going to give it one more additional hug to every one of us because we're hurting right now. We will power through, but hug to all the theater goers, hug to everyone that loves the tournament. This is going to be a different one, and most likely a worse tournament to watch. But we appreciate you sticking with us. And next time you're going to hear from us, we're going to have a bracket, fellas. We will have a bracket this time next week. Cannot wait to break it down. Thank you again for listening. We'll catch you next time here on Theater and College Hoops.
Whatever.